Oklahoma City just looks like a monster right now.
Defensively, we have to talk about them among the greatest defensive teams in the NBA or of the greatest defensive teams of this era. I mean, you're talking about a team that's the youngest team in the NBA, and they've held their opponent here, Vinny, in the postseason, 5 straight games, 95 or fewer points. They just did it against the Dallas Mavericks team that had one of the best offenses since the All-Star break, 116 points per 100 possessions. Against the Clippers, 116 points per 100 possessions. Vinny, they held them to 95 points last night. Okay? So this is a Thunder team that held the Pelicans. Yeah, they didn't have Zion Williamson, but they had Trey Murphy, they had Brandon Ingram, they had a whole assortment of weapons, that a good offensive team, even without Zion Williamson, and just curb stomped them, right? So when you talk about OKC's defense, we need to kind of think about, wait, when's the last time we seen a team this young do this, like defensively? It usually is kind of like a maximum in the NBA that you have to be old or young teams can't defend because they don't want to defend. They don't have that dog in them. They don't have that kind of savviness that you need to know where to be and the communication. But the last time, Vinny, that a defense has held their opponent to 95 or fewer points in 5 straight playoff games, it's 2016 Spurs, a very different team than the one we're talking about with OKC. It's been 8 years since a team has been that dominant defensively. We've heard a lot about Minnesota, but what OKC does with their length and with their coaching and just their ability to create turnovers, they flummox their opponent on a nightly basis. 10-game win streak, and a lot of it is because of that defense.
Well, the way I look at it is this. Everybody talks about like switchable basketball, right? There is no weak link here. Even when you look at Minnesota, and I'm seeing them, and that was some of the most hellacious defense, aggressive defense, physical defense that I've ever seen at the point of attack, right? But you can't switch off. Like Giddey is long, Shea is long. Like you're searching for the mark, but every time you search for something, there's a new guy in your face that you can't take advantage of. Like Shea Gilgeous-Alexander leads the league in steals. Not once do we think of Shea as their best defensive player. We don't even think he's their top 3 defensive player, but he leads the league in steals. And sometimes steals can be kind of an overrated stat. You know, you got the, Allen Iverson stepping in the passing lane steals. But Jalen Williams, Lou Dort, Big Chet, we all think they have possibilities to be generational defenders and also they can all score. Like, this is such a weird thing. I'm not saying, like, let's fast forward to the Western Conference Finals, OKC and Minnesota. But what I am saying is sometimes defenses can be sexy. Like, this is like entertaining to watch. Like, if you think about basketball in the mid 90s when basketball became a slog, it wasn't necessarily entertaining. It was competitive, but it wasn't entertaining. The way that these two teams get after it, Tom, that's what I'm really impressed by.
Yeah, and it doesn't seem like OKC really broke a sweat. You know, it doesn't even seem like they've been kind of tested yet. And this is so crazy to talk about with a team that's average age is like 23 years old, 22 years old, youngest team in the NBA. This is so absurd. Like, I don't think people realize, and a lot of it is because they don't have, they have the commercial, right? What a pro wants. But the idea is they weren't on national TV every game. They kind of snuck up on us this year. I had them as a title contender from day one because of how well coached they are and how I thought that Chet Holmgren and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander would make the leap. It's all been prophesied by me to like the 10th percentile. All 90% of what we're seeing in this postseason, I did not expect this early. So when you talk about the way that they leverage that length, they've won the turnover battle and the fast break point battle in every game this postseason. And it's a huge thing in football. We talk about owning that turnover column. This is what OKC does. They turn you over and they run the other way and they finish at a very high rate. So this was Lob City. Like, we had heard about the Daniel Gafford, PJ Washington, Derrick Jones Jr., and the Lob City that Dallas had. You know who had more dunks in game one? OKC. They beat you at their own game. That's how good they are.